And we are live. Come on in, everyone. I know you have been waiting. And boy, I have been waiting as well. I do want you to ask those questions. We'll make sure they are answered. We do have the moderator's going to be me. And we do have a surprise here for you. So come on in. Come right on in. We're going to show the chat. Share with me where you're coming from. What state are you coming from? What city, right? Are you tuning in from Tennessee, California, Texas? Feel free to go ahead and share with us. Listen, I want to get right into it. Is that okay, guys? I want to get right into it because we have two people here, very special to me, that introduced me through various means to a system that would eliminate debt way faster than I could have on my own. Now, you guys, you see me on the whiteboard. I share with you the math. I show you how to get out of the mortgage, not in 30 years, not even in 20 years, but less than sometimes 10 years. It all depends on the cash flow. We've shared with you by the numbers, and you can't deny it because it's math. In as little as 5 to 11 years, people are just eliminating all the debt, right? Mortgages, boats, right? Cars. Have you ever wondered, man, how are they doing that? Well, listen, we have Di and Mr. John Washenko on here with us. And John is actually the founder of United Financial Freedom. And what we want to do is we want to share with you what we learned, right, from them. And so Di is the vice president of sales over here. And what we want to do is get you in a place where you can listen. So if there's any distractions, if you could, go ahead and turn those distractions off. Now, if you're tuning in on the phone, don't turn that off, okay? But any distractions, perhaps, I've had to tell my children, my family, hey, could you go ahead and be quiet? Because the information that they're going to share it could quite possibly save your life, save your bank account, all right? So, folks, without further ado, Mrs. Di, I'm going to have you take control, say what it is you need to say, share, if you have a story, and then get into how we can eliminate debt basically at the push of a button. And thank you so much for being here. Go ahead.
All right. Well, thank you, CJ, so much for that introduction. And you guys, I really don't have an additional story to tell because I'm about to tell you one of the greatest stories ever told. Because tonight we are going to learn how to bank like a bank. And this is critical information that we absolutely must understand in order to not only survive, but to thrive in today's financial marketplace. So our story, it began back in 1997 when John Washenko founded one of Utah's fastest growing mortgage companies. It was here that we discovered that as Americans, we have a serious problem with debt. We would see many of our clients come back again and again, refinancing their homes, but not for the right reasons. Not because they were leveraging the equity into additional real estate or other investments, but because they were living beyond their means. They were buying boats on credit, cars on credit, taking vacations on credit. And when the payments got uncomfortable, no problem. They would just come right back, do a cash out refi, and start that vicious cycle all over again using their house as if it were an ATM. Now, we all know that you can only play that musical refinance game so many times before you bottom out, before you run out of equity, before you throw off your debt to income ratio or completely destroy your FICO score. And those are conversations that nobody wanted to have. So John started looking all over the world to find a cure to this disease that we call debt. And he found something very interesting that was being used in both the UK and Australia. It was called the One Account. And the One Account was helping families rapidly pay off their mortgages and save tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. Now, here in the States, we have a very different banking system. So John had to make some modifications in order for it to work here. But then he did something incredible. He did something revolutionary. He added technology. And in 2004, we launched the first version of what we now call the Money Max account, which is a web-based interactive debt to wealth program specifically designed to help the average American pay off all of their debt in as little as one half to one third the time, and get this, without refinancing, without restructuring, and without changing their budget or lifestyle. Now, we did a beta test on 400 homeowners in the Colorado region, and much to our surprise and delight, at the end of this beta, not only were our clients on track, but the average client was 20% farther ahead. Meaning if they had a 30-year mortgage and we said they could pay it off in 10 after just 1 year, instead of having 9 years left to go, they only had 7.8. So we went ahead and launched nationwide. And to date, we've helped our clients pay down over 2.8 billion. Yes, that is with a B. $2.8 billion in principal debt. And for every dollar that we pay off in principal, we cancel, eliminate, wipe off the face of this earth a corresponding $3 to $6 in interest that never has to be paid back. Now, this program was so well received that a high-ranking bank official over at Wells Fargo nominated John to receive the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year award. Now, if you know Ernst & Young, the largest accounting firm in this country, if not in the entire world, they do not easily hand out awards. They believe in doing intense due diligence. So they spent months not only combing through the company's financials, but combing through John's financials. They checked out our longevity, our retention rate, our product viability, and the overall impact that we had on consumers. And after doing this deep dive into who we were, in 2008, in the financial services division, John Waschenko received this very prestigious award. Now, friends, what was going on in 2008 in the financial services division? The sky was falling. Do you remember that? So to receive this award in that year, I don't think I have to say anything else about our credibility, but I'm going to, because since then, we have been featured in almost every single industry-related magazine. We've earned an A+ rating through the Better Business Bureau and 4.9 stars on Trustpilot. And we have only just begun. So now that you know who we are going to talk about 8 different banking products and principles and how they come together to create the most effective and aggressive debt to wealth program on the market today. We're going to talk about closed-ended loans, mortgage amortization, interest cancellation, open-ended loans and lines of credit, offset accounts, float and leverage, interest accumulation, and strategic debt payoff. And you're going to see how we can, when we combine these 8 products and principles, we can literally crush and destroy any debt in record time. So what do we know about closed-ended loans? Well, first of all, they only allow money to go one way. You can make payments in, but you can't take anything out. They require at minimum a full scheduled payment, and they're driven by an amortization schedule. And money applied today, it does not affect your interest charges until the following month because they calculate interest charges off of the previous month and balance. So what did I just describe there? Does anybody know? Yeah, that's our mortgages, our cars, our boats, our ATVs, anything that has a start date and an end date. That is a closed-ended loan. And the main takeaways are they're very restrictive, zero flexibility. And if you stick with your lender's plan, you are flat out going to pay way too much money in interest. Our next banking principle is mortgage amortization. Throughout our conversation tonight, we're going to be referring to a $400,000 loan with a 6% interest rate amortized over 30 years. Now, the payment on said loan is $2,398.20. And when we look at the breakdown of the payment in month number one, we see $398.20 going towards principal and $2,000 going towards interest. Guys, that is not 6% on any planet. That is 83% of your payment going towards interest in month number one. Now, the good news is every single time you make a payment, a little bit more is going to go towards principal, which means a little bit less goes towards interest. So if we look at month number two, I wasn't kidding when I said it was a little bit. It's less than a $2 difference. Is it any wonder that it takes this type of loan 30 years to pay off? Now, if we look at the end of this loan at the end of year number one, we see that we paid close to $29,000, but the bank, you've only given us credit for less than $5,000. If we take this loan out to year five, we have now paid over $143,000 into it. Our equity position, it's just under 28 grand, which means that over $116,000 went where? Towards interest. And what did that interest buy us? Did we get a couple extra bedrooms? Maybe a few extra acres out back? No, we got absolutely nothing, because interest, this is another word for bank profit. And that $116,000 did you and your family no more good than had you taken it out back, lit it on fire, and watched it burn. And the crazy thing is, this is where the average American has been conditioned to refinance and start this vicious cycle all over again. And if you think that's an exaggeration, I challenge you. When you go to work tomorrow, ask your colleagues, ask your friends, hey, how many years do you have left to go on your mortgage? You're going to hear 27, 29, 28, 30. I just refinanced. Very seldom are you going to come across anyone who has less than 25 years to go. But let's continue with this example. Year 10, we've now paid over $287,000. Our equity position, just over 65 grand. Year 21. Now, this is a special year in this mortgage. We have now paid over $604,000 on a $400,000 loan. But the good news is we finally reached the halfway point. We now owe just under $200,000, which means we have just over $200,000 in equity. Now, how 21 years is half of 30? I'll never understand that. But that is just the absurdity of bankers' math. And if we were to make every single mortgage payment on time on this $400,000 loan with a 6% interest rate, we would pay back over $863,000. Again, friends, that is not 6%. That is 116% more than what you borrowed. And you know what I call that? That's legalized theft. It's legal. You signed those documents. It's theft. You didn't understand what you were signing, because no one has ever taken the time to educate you on the difference between a 6% annual percentage rate and 116% total interest percentage. You see, friends, the banks, they sell us on APR, but they charge us on tip. And as my buddy, the guy hanging on the wall behind me, always said, those who understand interest, they're destined to earn it. But those who don't, they're doomed to pay it. Now, in this example right here, who do you think understands interest? Oh, yeah, the banks. They totally understand interest. But don't you think it's time that we get smart about our own money? Now, some of you, you got to knock that thinking off right now. I could read your minds. You're thinking, oh, I totally dodged that bullet. I don't have a 6% rate on my mortgage. I have a 2, a 4, a 3%. Well, friends, if you take a single note on our conversation tonight, this is the one that I want you to write down. And I want you to write it big. I want you to write it bold. I want you to underline it. I want you to give it exclamation points. I mean, go to the chat so I know that you're listening and type in Rate does not matter. CJ, do you see that going in the chat there? Rate does not matter. At least not as much as you think it does.
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. What actually matters is the type of product that you are using and how that rate is calculated. And I will prove that to you mathematically as we proceed tonight. So our next banking principle is interest cancellation. And as you recall from our conversation on closed-ended loans, at minimum, we're required to make a full scheduled payment. So let's go ahead and do that in month number 1. We're going to pay $2,398.20. $398.20 goes towards principal, and $2,000 is going to go towards interest. But what if, in addition to our regular scheduled payment, we decide to tack on an additional $2,021.06? What is this going to do to our mortgage? Well, logic would tell us if I've got $2,000 going towards interest and I apply an extra $2,000, I should cancel 1 month off of the back end of my loan. But guys, logic's wrong. You see, principal and interest, they're connected. And anything you do to the principal, that's going to affect the interest. So this single $2,021.06 principal accelerator, it doesn't cancel 1 month off of the back end of this loan, or 2, 3, or 4 months. The single $2,021.06 principal accelerator cancels 5 full months off of the back end of your loan and saves close to $10,000 in interest. Now, in any other arena, would you be willing to invest $2,000 to make 10? Of course you would. That is a very equitable arrangement. But what if we're not thinking big enough? What if instead of that $2,021.06 principal accelerator, we tack on an additional $5,000? And what if it doesn't have to be our own money? What if it could be our bank's money? What if it could be our insurance company's money? Do I have your attention? Because that is exactly what I'm going to show you how to do tonight. So our next banking principle is open-ended loans and lines of credit. What's different about these open-ended loans? Well, first of all, money goes 2 ways. You can make payments in, turn around and take withdrawals out. And they require at minimum, not a full scheduled payment, but an interest-only payment. And they're driven by a drop period. And the next one is my favorite. Money applied today affects today's balance. You make a payment and that clock stops. They recalculate your principal, they recalculate your interest, and your payment is based on that new dollar amount because they calculate interest charges on an average daily balance. You've got to understand this, friends. Banks are smart. They are so smart, and they understand and take advantage of a concept called no stagnant money. And what that means is that money, it's always moving. It's earning interest, it's canceling interest, but never, ever, ever does it sit idle doing nothing. Now, smart investors, we do what the banks do. And the Money Max account, it can help you move the right amount of money at the right time from one account to another, and then let it sit for the right length of time. You know what else the banks do at the close of business every single day? They sweep all of the money out of everybody's checking and savings accounts, and they invest that money into high interest bearing accounts for themselves and their special clients. Yeah, they use our money to earn interest for themselves while we sleep because they know money, it's the best employee they're ever going to hire. It works 24/7, 365. So knowing that, how many of you here tonight would want a sweep account of your own? Anybody? Oh, absolutely. Well, guess what? You can have one because another name for a sweep account, it's an offset account. And offset accounts are open-ended accounts. And this is just a place where you can park your money for a specific period of time where it's going to earn interest, cancel interest, or in some cases, it can do both things simultaneously using the same dollar twice. Now, here at United Financial Freedom, we work with 3 different offset accounts. The first one, this was our flagship product. When we introduced velocity banking to this country back in 2004, a home equity line of credit, it was our one and our only offset account. And it allowed our clients to rapidly pay off their debts and cancel tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. So what did I say happened in 2008? Oh, yeah, that financial sky was falling. And what did the banks do? They flat out quit issuing home equity lines of credit. So we had to invest another $19 million in research and development. And it took years, but we were finally able to eliminate our reliance on the home equity line of credit. And our program, it now works just as well with a checking and savings account. So you know what that means? It now works for anybody. Because if you don't have to have a home equity line of credit, you don't have to be a homeowner. And if you don't have to qualify for a home equity line of credit, you don't even have to have good credit. So now this program works for anyone on any type of debt. Cars, credit cards, student loans, mortgages. If there's a balance, an interest rate, and a payment, we can crush and destroy it in record time. And then we spent the next decade, yes, a full 10 years, searching for the perfect offset account. One that would not only allow us to get out of debt in record time and save tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest, but one that would allow us to get out of debt in record time, save tens and hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest, while simultaneously building wealth by using the same dollar twice. And friends, in 2021, we entered the infinite banking arena with our third offset account. And my personal favorite offset account, a high cash value permanent insurance policy that allows you to use the same dollar twice. So now that we understand our different offset accounts, we're going to start talking about canceling interest using an offset account. So here we have our $400,000 loan that we've been talking about all night long. Now we're going to introduce an offset account. Remember, it can be a high yield savings account. It can be a permanent insurance policy. But for tonight, we are going to be focused on an advanced line of credit, a home equity line of credit. And this particular line of credit has $25,000 available and a 10% interest rate. Now, how many of you guys with me tonight would ever use 10% money to pay off 6? Yes, I did say that right. How many of you guys would use 10% to pay off 6? I know, that is crazy talk, isn't it? It flies in the face of logic. It is counterintuitive. No sane person would do that. We would all do the inverse. We would use 6% to pay off 10. But what was that one little note I encouraged you to take earlier? The big one, the bold one, the one that you put in chat? Oh yeah, right, doesn't matter. And this is where I'm going to mathematically prove that to you. So remember when I said, what if we put an extra $5,000 on top of our loan? And what if it doesn't have to be our own money? Well, in this example, it's going to be the bank's money. And we are going to borrow $5,000 from the home equity line of credit to pay down the first mortgage. And at first glance, it doesn't look like we've accomplished anything, does it? We still owe the same $400,000. But what we did was we took a $5,000 balance from a product that we had zero control over, and we moved it to one where we have 100% control over it. And this single strategic funds transfer, it canceled $24,136.34 in future interest, and it knocked 12 full payments off of the back end of this loan. Now, if that there ain't fantastic and exciting, I don't know what is. That money wasn't free, was it? Nope. It was $5,000 at 10%. So if we were to do the math, the payment on that $5,000 in month number 1 would be $41.67. Anyone here willing to pay $41.67 to save over $24,000 in interest? I mean, guys, Give me an amen on a weekday. That is one equitable arrangement right there. But what if it takes more than 1 month to pay back? All right, let's say it takes 6 months, and let's round our payment up to $50 a month. It's not 50, it's 41.67 and descending. But just to keep my math simple, we're going to say it's $50. What's 50 times 6? 300 bucks. Anyone here willing to pay $300 to save over 24,000? Yeah, every day, all day long, twice on Sunday. What if it takes a full year? 12 times 50. That's only 600 bucks. And now I'm going to be absolutely ridiculous and say it takes 5 years to pay down that $5,000. That's still only $3,000. At what point does this scenario stop making sense? That would be at the point where it costs more in interest than we actually save. And that wouldn't happen in a 30-year period. So now that we all can agree, rate doesn't matter, let's move on to our next banking principle. And I bet you all have already mastered this one. You just didn't know it had a name. Float and leverage. What do I mean by that? Well, what do we do when we run out of gas? Swipe the credit card. Need groceries? Swipe the credit card. I want a cup of coffee. Swipe the credit card. School started. Kids need soccer cleats. You guessed it. Swipe the credit card. We swipe those credit cards all day long, every week, every month. But at the end of the month, what do responsible cardholders do? We pay those suckers down to zero because we all know, even if we have a 36% rate on those credit cards, if we pay them off every month, how much interest does the bank charge us for the use of their money? Nothing. We leverage our lenders' money interest-free, 25 to 45 days. We just float the balance. Again, I ask you, what if we're not thinking big enough? So we're just adding to our story, line upon line, little by little. We still have our $400,000 loan at 6%. We have our home equity line of credit that we are now using. It's our primary checking account. This client's net income is $5,000. So when they get paid and the money gets deposited into the HELOC, it pays the balance down to zero. So how much interest does the bank charge us for the use of their money in month number 1? Nothing. But what the heck are we supposed to live off of? Our friendly neighborhood credit card, of course. And yes, I said friendly and credit card, same breath. Because when you understand how these different financial instruments work together, they really can be your best friend. So we're going to put everything on the credit card, say to the tune of $4,000. The gas, the grocery, the cell phone, the soccer cleats, the insurance. We're getting our rewards points, our cash back, our Sky Miles, all the benefits of having a credit card. And then when the payments due, we write one check from the home equity line of credit, and we pay that down to zero as well. So how much interest did the bank charge us for the use of their money on the credit card? Nothing. How much interest did they charge us for the use of their money on the HELOC? Nothing. And we saved over $24,000 in interest. If that is not fantastic and exciting, friends, I don't know what is. But it gets even better, or worse, depending upon how you look at this. Let's say these are your debts. And in addition to the mortgage, you have 5 other debts that you're paying on. If this were you, which one would you pay first? Yeah, that is a trick question because our gurus can't even answer that. We've got one guy out there saying, oh, you want to attack the lowest balance and build momentum. Yet someone else contradicts him and says, no, attack the highest interest rate and pay as little as possible. Someone else said it don't matter, just pick one. And yet another says, why don't we put a little extra on all of them? So which one's the fastest mathematical way to zero? Is it that snowball? Is it the avalanche? Is it the target? Does it even matter? Well, if you understand factorial math, with just 6 different payments going out each month, there are 720 possible sequences or combinations to choose from. Choosing the wrong one could only cost you an extra tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars in interest. So if this was you, which one would you pay off first? What's missing? I'll tell you what's missing. Ain't no one got the systems to do this themselves. No one has the time to do it on their own. It is too complicated to do manually, too complex to navigate, and there's no strategic payoff. Wouldn't it be nice if somebody would come up with like a GPS for our finances? Something that tells us how much money to move and when to move it and where to move it? Well, guys, we have the answer because finance, it's finally caught up with technology. And we have the first, the one, the only web-based interactive financial GPS on the market today. This program, it tells you how much money to move, the exact dollar amount, when to move it, the exact date, from what account to what account, the most efficient accounts. It calculates the most strategic mathematical solution to zero debt. It's going to take a look at your income, not just how much you earn. Are you W-2? Are you 1099? You paid weekly, monthly, bi-weekly, semi-monthly? It's going to take a look at all of your debts. It's going to look at how much you owe, the interest rate, the payment, how that rate is calculated. It's going to look at your expenses, and it's going to calculate the fastest mathematical way to zero debt. And when life happens, you know what I mean by life, right? When the car breaks down, when the dishwasher leaks, when the dog swallows a rock and needs emergency surgery, that kinds of things. What does this program do? It's just going to recalculate and get you right back on track so that you earn the most interest, pay the least interest, and beat the banks at their own game. How many of you guys, when you traveled across town today, went to the gas station first and bought a map or a Thomas guide? Some of you guys are so young, you probably don't even know what I'm talking about, do you? No, none of us do that. We just whip out our phones, go to our GPS, type in our destination, because we know it's going to get us there within a quarter of an inch of accuracy. And even though we know where we're going, we still do that. Why? Because it's aware of traffic patterns. It knows if there's a speed trap up ahead. It can tell us our estimated time of arrival. It can help us beat construction. So guys, why would we use a spreadsheet in a GPS world? We wouldn't use a map. So why would we use a spreadsheet? So now I want to show you cash flow and strategic payoff. Here we have our checking account. And the first thing that you want to do is establish a minimum reserve, because the Money Max account will never tell you to spend money that you don't have or that you have dog-eared for something else. Then we have our home equity line of credit. And when we get paid, money goes into the checking account. The program analyzes every aspect of your financial situation. It honors that minimum reserve, and it prompts a funds transfer with whatever excess funds it identifies. Then when you get paid again, it does that exact same thing, honors that minimum reserve, prompts a funds transfer with those extra funds until we reach an optimal transfer point, at which time the program's going to take a look at all of your debts and tell you which debt or debts to apply the additional funds to. So how does this work if we're using a high yield savings account or a permanent insurance policy? The exact same way, just backwards. When we get paid, money goes into the checking account. Program analyzes every aspect of our financial situation. It honors that minimum reserve, prompts a funds transfer over to that high yield savings account or permanent insurance policy. But instead of paying down a debt balance, we're building up a cash reserve until we reach that optimal transfer point, at which time the program takes a look at all of your debts and tells you which debt or debts to apply the additional funds to. So now we're going to have some fun. We're going to take a look at a sample client. This guy's name is Steve Jones, and y'all are going to be so shocked when I tell you Steve has that $400,000 loan we've been talking about all night long. Now, in addition to the principal and interest, we know that there's escrow, we know there's PMI. So Steve's total mortgage payment is $2,793.20. In addition to keeping a roof over their heads, Steve and his family, they kind of like to eat. They like to stay warm. So we have a few other living expenses, which bring our total living expenses to $6,500. Their family's net income is $8,000. And if we subtract the $6,500 living expenses, that means they have a discretionary leftover income of $1,500 a month. Now, do you have to have $1,500 a month left over? Oh, you just can't spend more than you actually earn. Do you have to use a home equity line of credit? Guys, if you think that, you haven't been paying attention, because you could use a high yield savings account or a permanent insurance policy. We're just using this example tonight, but next time I come back, we're going to show you how to spend that same dollar twice. So this is our first look behind the curtain. This is the Money Max account. And right across the top here, you see our dashboard. And this is showing Steve and his family that if they follow the Money Max account, instead of paying over $463,000 in interest, they could pay as little as $144,000. Instead of being in debt for 30 years, they can be debt free in just 10.8, and they can potentially save over $321,000 in interest. If we look below the dashboard, we see the action plan. And this is where the magic happens. Now, at first glance, it looks like any other budget worksheet you've seen in the history of forever. It lays out the debts in the order in which they occur. It tells you where the money comes from, where it goes to, in very mathematically precise dollar amounts. Even color-coded for simplicity. If it's income related, it's going to be green. If it's interest related, meaning it earns interest, like that high yield savings account, or it costs us interest, like our mortgage, it's going to be blue. And if it's a living expense, like our gas and our groceries, something that's never going to go away, even when we're debt-free, it's going to be black. But guys, I don't want you to be deceived by the simplicity of what you're looking at. Because what you don't see is behind the scenes. There's 4.5 million line items of code. That's what makes it so user-friendly. There are hundreds of mathematical algorithms. There's advanced banking strategies. There's factorial math. There is so much math going on behind the scenes, we could put a rocket on the moon. But that's not our goal. Our goal is to help you earn the most interest, pay the least interest, and beat the banks at their own game. So what is it that we're looking for? Directions. Just like your GPS tells you where to go, turn left, turn right, make a legal U-turn. That's what the Money Max account does. Just look for the arrows. So the first direction that the Money Max account is prompting Steve and his family to follow is to take $12,875.88 from the HELOC to pay down the first mortgage. If you look at the mathematical precision of that dollar amount, it's not $13,000. It's not $12,875. It is mathematically precise to the very penny. Remember earlier when I said that the banks are smart? Well, they're so smart, they're looking for specific dollar amounts. Did you know that? And it's a moving target. And if you don't send them the right dollar amount, you know what they do? If you send them less than what they're looking for, they're going to take that money and they're going to hold it in an escrow account, earning interest for themselves until you reach the correct dollar amount, at which point you're still going to hold it for another month before applying it, because they calculate interest charges off of the previous month end balance. You know what they do if you send them more than what they're looking for? They're going to apply the appropriate number that following month, but they're holding the rest in that escrow account, earning interest for themselves until you reach that optimal transfer point. So friends, that's why you can't do this on your own, because there's absolutely no way that you're going to keep up with all the math that's going on with these banking strategies. So now we're going to go through month by month, blow by blow, of how this program works. But to keep it simple, I'm not incorporating in float and leverage. I'm actually going to show Steve paying the interest associated with the HELOC, but he's not going to feel it. Because the Money Max account, it has a way of finding you money without you feeling the pain. So we're going to start off month number 1 with an offset account balance of $0. We're going to put all of our expenses to the tune of $6,500 on it. We're going to follow that funds transfer in that very mathematically precise dollar amount of $12,875.88. Our new balance is $19,375.88. Our income hits, taking it down to $11,375.88. Now, that money's not free. Steve and his family are going to pay $94.80 in interest that they do not feel, because the Money Max account, it finds you money without you feeling the pain. What did we accomplish in that very first month? We canceled over $58,000 in interest, and we eliminated over 2 years off of the back end of this loan. How many of you here tonight would pay $94.80 to save over $58,000 in interest? I don't think CJ can smile any bigger than that. Absolutely. That is a very equitable arrangement. But guess what? Steve doesn't have to pay that. Let's take a look at the amortization schedule. Remember how between month number 1 and month number 2, there was going to be less than a $2 difference in principal? Well, by applying that extra $12,875.88, we see a principal jump of $66.37. We cancel over 58 grand. We eliminate over 2 years. We are more than happy to pay that $94.80 to make it happen. But if we subtract the $66.37 principal jump from the $94.80 HELOC interest, it only cost Steve and his family $28.43 to save over $58,000 in interest. We're going to go to month number 2 and start off where we left off at the end of month number 1. And we're going to put all of our expenses on the offset account. Let's stop and talk about our expenses. Did you notice we didn't say, hey, Steve, go grab a pair of scissors. It's time to cut up that credit cards. Let's live on beanies and weenies, ride our bike to work. No more date night, no more vacations. Let's suffer until we're debt free. Oh no, guys, that's not our program. That's that other guy who has like a 14% success rate. We want you to succeed. So if you're used to golfing on Saturdays, keep swinging those clubs. If you're used to $300 a month in your pizza budget, keep eating your pizza. Because as any person who's ever been on a diet can tell you, prolonged deprivation, that leads to rebellion. And we want you to succeed. So keep your expenses the same. That brings us to $17,970.68. Our income hits, bringing us down to $99.70.68. The money's not free. Steve and his family are charged another $83.09 in interest that they do not feel, because the Money Max account finds you money without you feeling the pain. We begin month number 3 where we left off at the end of month number 2. Our expenses are what? Yeah, they're still the same, bringing us to $16,553.77. Our income hits, bringing us down to $85,553.77. Our money's not free either. Steve and his family are charged another $71.28 in interest. They don't feel, because the Money Max account, it finds you money without you feeling the pain. Month number 4, we start off where we left off at the end of month number 3. Our expenses are what? Say it with me. They're still the same, bringing us to $15,125.05. Our income hits, bringing us down to $71,25.05. And that number right there, that prompts another strategic funds transfer in a very mathematically precise dollar amount, bringing our ending balance to $11,435.25. Money's not free either. Steve and his family have charged another $95.29, and they cancel another $17,000 off of their mortgage and eliminate another 9 months. If we look at the amortization schedule, look at month number 3. We only have 328 months to go, not 357. Month 4, it drops to 318, and look how quickly our principal balance is descending. In month 5, we see $493.12 going towards principal. That is a principal jump of $23.89. So what have we done over this 4-month period? Oh, and that's a principal jump, I already said, of $23.89. So far, we've paid $344.46 in interest. What did we accomplish for that $344? We've canceled over $76,000 in interest and eliminated over 3 years off of the back end of this loan. You all know the question I'm going to ask. How many of you would pay $344 to save over $76,000 in interest? Of course, we all would. Now, we're going to jump ahead to month number 7. We're skipping months 5 and 6, not because we're hiding anything, but it's just showing the program paying back the offset account in very mathematically precise dollar amounts, like it did in months 2 and 3. So we start off with an offset account balance of $86.85.91. Our expenses, yeah, they're still the same, bringing us to $15,185.91. Our income hits, bringing us down to $71.85.91. And guess what? That prompts another strategic funds transfer in a very mathematically precise dollar amount, bringing us to $12,490.89. That money's not free. Steve and his family, they're charged another $104 in interest that they don't feel. Because the Money Max account, it finds you money without you feeling the pain. We eliminate almost another $20,000 in interest and eliminate 11 months, almost a full year off of the back end of the loan. When we look at our amortization schedule, month 5, only 317 months to go. Month 6, 316. Month 7 drops all the way down to 304. Look at the principal balance. And in month number 8, we see $527.08 going towards principal. That is a jump of $29.01 from month 7 to month 8. But if we look at it from month number 1, that is a principal jump of $128.88. So over the last 7 months, we have paid $603.92 in interest that we didn't feel. Because the Money Max account funds us money without us feeling the pain. And I hope y'all are sitting down, because what did we do in 7 months? We canceled over $95,000 in interest and eliminated over 4 years off of the back end of this loan. And if that ain't fantastic and exciting, I don't know what is. So let's look at our Money Max account. We've been on the program for 7 months. We've gone from $141,000 in interest remaining down to $131,000. We went from 10.8 years down to 10.1. We've actually saved $95,000 in interest. And if you look down the action plan, what do we see coming up at the bottom of the page? You guessed it, another strategic funds transfer from the HELOC to the mortgage. So how do we compare? Well, let's look at the bank's plan compared to the Money Max account. They both start off with the same $400,000. But after 7 months on the bank's plan, guys, we haven't even paid down $3,000 yet. So following the Money Max account, we paid down over $25,000. Now, let's be fair. Eventually, the bank, they've got to catch up to us, right? How long does it take the bank to do what we did in 7 months? That would be 4.7 years. And they still fall short by $116 because the bank, they want Steve and his family to be in debt for 30 years. But following the Money Max account, they could be debt free in just 10.8. The bank wanted them to pay $463,000 in interest. Following the Money Max account, they can pay as little as $144,000. So, given the choice, and at this point, friends, it really is a choice. Yesterday, you didn't know any better, but tonight, y'all have been equipped with knowledge. So given the choice between paying on your debts for 30 years or being debt-free in 10.8, which are you going to choose? Given the choice between paying the bank $463,000 in interest or saving $318,000, which are you going to choose? I don't know about you guys, but every $318,000 that stays in my family's bank account, I think that's a really good thing. But it's not only about the money we can save, it's also about the time. What would you do with 19.2 years worth of mortgage payments? The answer is you can do anything you want. You can take that money and you can invest it in real estate. You can invest it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, asset-based insurance. Go out and start a business. It doesn't matter. The point is, the opposite of debt is wealth. And if we can help you become debt-free, we can help you become stone cold wealthy. We don't want you to be debt-free and broke. We want you to be debt-free with lots and lots of money. Debt-free and financially independent, debt-free and retire with dignity. What you've witnessed tonight, this is all backed by science. This is the first, the one, the only web-based interactive debt to wealth program on the market today. 4.5 million line items of code, hundreds of mathematical algorithms, advanced banking strategies, and factorial math. We connect with over 13,000 banks and lenders. And although it sounds like magic, you all saw it's just math. So what's your next step? You want to book an appointment with CJ, somebody that you just dropped a link in the chat, right? You want to go and book an appointment so that they will run a complimentary, yes, I said a free savings report that will give you your guaranteed get out of debt date and show you how much interest you could potentially save and the wealth you can build. You're going to get a side-by-side comparison of the bank's plan to the Money Max account, and then the difference between the two. So here you can see Steve and his family, they would have been in debt for 30 years, following the Money Max account, debt-free in 10.8. That saves them $321,000 in interest. And once they're debt-free, if they take the money that used to go to servicing that debt and redirected it into savings, just getting a 1% rate of return, by the time they reach zero debt with the bank, they could have $1,047,000 in wealth built up. You see, guys, it's not just the $321,000 that the banks are robbing us of. It's our retirement. And this is showing if they waited until they were debt-free to start building wealth. But what if there were a way where you can start building wealth simultaneously while you are getting out of debt by using that same dollar twice? Is that something you would want to learn more about? I know you would. So book that complimentary savings analysis and let the numbers do the talking. You've got nothing to lose but years off of your mortgage and potentially tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars in unnecessary interest payments. And with that, CJ, I'm going to turn things back to you and John.
Awesome. You know what? I want John to go ahead and chime in on that, because I think a lot of times people look at their income, they look at their expenses, and they're like, well, there's no way that we can actually reach debt freedom with what we have. But 4 million lines of code. Remember, this is debt elimination software. We're talking about the Money Max account. You put the income in, you put the expenses in, you put the debts in, and it shoots out your debt-free date, shows you when and what amount to go ahead and pay. And so I would like to, John, go ahead and share some of what you know about that.
Thanks, CJ. Yeah, Di, that was incredible. I love listening to you do that presentation. It's absolutely fantastic. I think it really kind of helps people to realize, hey, look, there probably is a better way of doing things, and opens their eyes up. CJ, the one thing we hear a lot of is, I wish I'd have heard about this 10 years ago. I always hear that every time I run a savings report. And another thing that we hear constantly is, wow, I didn't realize I could pay off in 7 years, 10 years. I didn't realize that was possible. Holy cow. And that's really what's happening is we're showing you your true financial potential. And it's really just math. And we, not only that, but CJ, we guaranteed it, and we have with a money back guarantee since literally 2004. And we've not refunded one client because it didn't work. We've refunded clients because multiple different reasons, but we've had refunds. We're a business. We sell product and we have a refund every now and then, but we've never, not once, had to refund somebody because it didn't work. But you know what? We proved it many times. And, I've had to prove it so many times that we finally built a button that just exports all the data and totals up the values. And it just makes it so that, and then it just makes it so that clients are like, oh my gosh, this is real. They had no idea, and me and Di were talking earlier, and most people don't know that, hey, over your lifetime, you might bring in $1 million, 2 million, maybe 5 million, depends on who you are, but it all gets spent and goes in different places. But if you had a system that was strategically looking out for you and helping to guide you, holy cow, it can make such a difference. But you know what? The thing that we're doing most of is we're looking in the rear view mirror. We're trying to drive forward, but we're looking backwards at what we've done in the past. We're looking at your bank statement. Where did you spend your money? Where did it go? What is that going to do you any good? Can it change anything for you? No. I mean, the past is the past. But if you're looking forward and you're projecting forward like Money Max is, and it's like playing chess with the computer. It's thinking thousands of moves ahead, and you're thinking 5 or 10 moves ahead. You're looking at, hey, this is my bank balance today, and I've got this bill coming up tomorrow, and how much money am I going to have left over? But you're not painting it forward even more than a month or maybe 2 months. But Money Max is looking at the end. And so, when you have, a bump in the road and, the car breaks down or, life happens and it throws you a curveball, which, trust me, that happens to everybody. I mean, if it hasn't happened, it's just a matter of time. It happens, you lose your job, something happens. Well, Money Max shows you where and what's really going to happen. And, CJ, we were talking about that client of mine that I had talked to you about. And I don't know that your audience has heard that story, but, that was one of my first clients getting on the program, and it really stuck with me because it was such a big impact. Well, basically, this client, he was looking at Money Max, loved what it was doing, but he said, John, I just don't know if I should do this right now, and I don't know if I can. And I said, okay, well, tell me why. And he said, what if I lose my job? And I said, okay, well, what if you lose your job and you don't have Money Max? And he said, well, I've got about 2, maybe 3 months worth of mortgage payments, and then I'm probably busted out. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said, okay, well, what happens after that is once you miss 3 payments, you get what's called an NOD, notice of default. After that, it starts the foreclosure process. You're probably talking 30 to 60 days, and they're kicking you out from there. So you might get 6 months to live there, but in the meantime, what happened is your credit's trashed. Once you get kicked out of your home, the chances of buying another home it's going to be years, 3 to 5 years before anybody's going to even want to take a chance on you again. So now you're renting for 3 to 5 years, your credit's trashed, and you've got a foreclosure on your credit. So now you've got all of this that you have to explain in baggage to be able to even buy another house. Plus, not only all of the equity and the upside that you have in your current house, And so then I said, now look at Money Max. So look, the best time to borrow money is when you don't need it. It's not when you need it, trust me. So you lose your job tomorrow, are you going to be able to get a home equity line of credit? Not a chance, no way, not happening. So what if you got Money Max today, you got set up with a line of credit, and we started building a strategic plan to pay off. We because we custom build each plan for each client, and we just basically input all of their information, and Money Max builds a custom plan. And so what if we built that plan for you today, and then you lose your job tomorrow? And look, we have some demo accounts, and I just went through and deleted his income. And you know what it said? It said he had like 5 or 7 years till he ran out of money. The dashboard went red, and it went red, and it said, you've got so many months. I don't remember the exact month, but he had so many years and months till he ran out of money. And I said, how long would it take you to get a new job? And he said, well, if I was looking for the right job, I could probably do it that would replace my income, maybe even a little better, It'd take me probably 6 months. I said, okay, well, let's just add a new income in and start it 6 months down the road. You know what it did? He had 6 months of a vacation, basically, zero income coming in for 6 months. We didn't put any income. He might have got a little bit of unemployment or something like that. Put it in. It added like less than a year to his total payoff. No foreclosure, no bankruptcy, no credit repair, no renting for 3 to 5 years, no explanation of why he had to have a foreclosure, why they should lend to him again, nothing. Just a small blip going from 30 years to 7 to 8 years, something like that. And he's like, John, that totally makes sense. The funny thing about that story is, and I don't know that it's funny, but the crazy thing, or whatever you want to say that, is it actually happened. And it played out just like we planned it. And he actually got a job in 6 months. And he called me when he got laid off. And I'm like, well, good thing we've got a plan in place, you know, because you're set. Go find a job. And that's exactly what he did. And nothing happened to him. And he paid off his home. So that's the kind of difference Money Max makes when you look ahead. When you just look behind you, what are you going to learn from that? Okay, you spent too much money. What can you do about it? Well, try not to spend as much in the future. Well, yeah, how's that working out? You know, it doesn't really change. You need a system that shows you cause and effect, and it shows you where you're going before you get there, and it educates you as well. So one of the reasons why, you know, Di is showing, hey, our clients do better isn't because Money Max performs better. It's because the client's understanding and knowledge of finances and interest and what's going on, all of a sudden clicks in. The light bulb turns on, and they realize, you know what? Hey, look, if I've got, you know, say $400,000 in debt and I've got $5,000 in my checking account, I combine the two. It's smart, but guess what? You realize right then and there, you're negative $395,000. And it changes the way you think. The wheels inside just start turning differently, and you realize, holy cow, I really owe a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, but you know what? Here's the dashboard, and it says I can get out of debt in 7 years. So it's financial education while you're doing it. So it's an amazing system that really helps our clients to get out of debt and build wealth. The other version is more of a advanced workshop that's about 90 minutes that Di does, and it goes into using a high cash value life insurance policy. And one of the most amazing things about that side of it is not only are you going to get out of debt in record time, like Di has just shown you, but at the same time you would have just paid off your house, you could have a retirement income that's built up for you. That might sound way too good to be true, but let me show you, let me tell you, it's absolutely real. The insurance companies that we use have been around for 175 years. They paid out on the Titanic. It's a high cash value policy. They've gone through Great Depressions. It's an amazing policy. And that would be another, call that we could do with a lot of your followers and help educating them to, not only one path, but we have 3 different strategies to help you get out of debt. And we can start you out on just the checking and savings. So sorry if I went a little too long there, CJ.
No, that's perfect. I think you've said it all right there. We do have something planned for October 8th. We will definitely be getting back with you. But what you need to do right now, folks, is not hesitate. You need to go ahead and click on the link that we pinned for you right there in the chat. Just go ahead and click it. We will keep that up there. We'll also put it in the description link right below this video as well. And John, I like what you said. You said, you know what? What is the best time? When is the best time to borrow money? It's not when you need it, right? It's basically when you've got enough, you don't need it. So why not, instead of using the line of credit for something that is consumable, why not use that line of credit for something that's actually going to pay off, right? Give you what is called a return on investment. You saw what Di did. I mean, that's math, folks. $98. What was that? $98.16 to save like $20,000. That is nuts, isn't it? But that's what we've been showing you. We've got to think differently about money in a debt-based economy. All right? Folks, I'm so glad. And we could spend another 30 minutes, maybe to an hour. You really should hear more of Don and Di and John on this presentation. But I'm very excited for what we're going to have next time. Okay, it's going to be October 8th. We will give you those details. We do have your emails, and please go ahead and go ahead and click on the link that I pinned right there. I want both Di, you first, and then John to have the last words on the Money Max account. Go ahead, Di.
Oh my goodness. Guys, I have been in this industry for 30 years. It's been a long time. And I started out in the traditional banking arena. And when I gave my letter of resignation, I remember my area retail manager, his name was Ivy. And he looked at me and he said, Di, I'm so embarrassed that I don't know the things that you now know. You guys, what you heard tonight, you can have a 6-year degree in business and finance. You can be an area manager for one of the largest banks in this country and not know what we just shared with you. So I really want to encourage you to click that link. I'm on the program. It took my husband and I from 28 years on our mortgage down to 7.8. Saved us $113,000 in interest. My son just bought a home. His housewarming party was on the 26th. We're taking him from 30 years down to 9.6 and saving him $414,000 in interest. This is a family thing. And then my son Josh and Alex. Josh just bought a home. Alex is buying one next week. It's just crazy because they've all reached that point. Because guess what? They've been following these principles since they were children. And they had the down payment in their insurance policies to buy their homes. So I am just, this isn't just about me. This is generational. This is legacy planning. And you've got to get back with CJ and see what this can do for you and generations to come.
Wow.
Awesome. That's awesome, Di. Di's got an incredible story. She's a fighter. She's tough and she's amazing. But hey, so CJ, I guess, the one thing that I think could, be the most impactful for your fans, your audience, is, my story, my why. I grew up in a small town. My dad worked at a big open mining company called Kennecott Copper Mine. And he got laid off and he did like what everybody else did. He had paid the minimum monthly payment on his mortgage. So we ended up losing our home in foreclosure. And basically, I saw our clients coming back and repeating the same mistakes that my parents had made. And it crushed me. And so that's why I decided to do something about this. And we even built a biweekly program, but it didn't have the impact that Money Max did. And the reason why is because people just didn't see it. I mean, if you split that payment in half and end up getting one extra half payment every 6 months, it shaves a 30-year mortgage down to like 23 or 25 years, depending on the interest rate. But but most people refinance every 5 to 7 years anyway. So it didn't really do much. It gave them a little bit more equity when the refinance hit. And so it was kind of like paying some of the closing costs up front to, buffer that cost. Cause I mean, closing costs on a refi are, not any less than $3,000 to, maybe $10,000. So, and that's just, I mean, you're going to push out new escrows and everything, but those are just going to get mostly spent. You know, you'll get the old escrows back from paying off that. You collect a new escrow account. So, and that's usually a few $1,000. But I just saw my clients digging that same hole, and I couldn't just do nothing. And so we came across this concept. I started building it out. And, you know, there's a lot of other companies out there that have like one account. And, you know, that was a solution or a concept back then. And there's still a company out there that does one account. And it's basically a HELOC and a mortgage put together. And it's basically a checking account and a HELOC, but it's a one open home equity line of credit. And we saw that, and it was a really cool concept. However, the problem is with that concept, if you have a $400,000 mortgage and those loans are prime plus margin, and so they're on a variable. And if you have that and you had, so let's even just back up, rewind just a few years. Go back to 2020, okay? I know it wasn't a pleasant year, but let's go back there. Rates were 3-4%, right? Now let's fast forward a couple of years. What happened? Rates went to where? They're like 6-8%. You know what I mean? So if you do the math, and I could even whiteboard this with you, you do the math on a first mortgage at 3%, $400,000. And look, if you want, CJ, you want to do that math with me real quick? $400,000 times, let's say 3%, 0.03. You can do this math with me. That's $12,000 a year divided by 12. That's $1,000 a month. That's the interest payment for your mortgage, right? Now let's do the same math. 400,000 times 0.07%, because that's what just happened. That's $28,000 a year divided by 12. That's $2,333 is your interest payment. Okay. Now, for a lot of our clients, they've only got $200 to $300 in discretionary income. If your interest payment goes up from $1,000 to $2,300, what happens in that scenario? You're in trouble, I can tell you that much. You know what I mean? All of a sudden, I mean, if you're on Money Max dashboard's going to start going red, you know, and it's going to say, hey, you've got so much time. And that's what's so beautiful about Money Max is it's educating you and showing you cause and effect in everyday life decisions. And so that concept was a bust. I couldn't recommend that because I couldn't stick my clients into something like that. And not only that, but I couldn't refinance them out of a 3% good mortgage into a variable mortgage that could bust them up. You know what I mean? I just couldn't do that. And so the concept of that second home equity line of credit that grabs a chunk of that first mortgage, pulls it in, and then offset it to with your income. Well, what you're talking about is 100% of zero because your income offsets that balance. Well, when that happens, guess what? It doesn't really matter. Just like Di was showing. What's $16 or $41? What was that number, Di? $41 times, you know, whatever. And you're running that strategy.
$41.67.
It's just a really solid strategy that pays off your debt and makes complete financial sense. So that's why I did this, is because I knew there was a better way and I had to show it to our clients. And I couldn't just go down the same path we've always been on. So I hope that helps.
You know what, that helps tremendously. Folks, have you heard anything like this? Have you seen anything like this? The math. When you were in high school, when you were in college, at the university, did you see anyone break it down like Di did? What about some of the examples that she was saying? Her son, she knows when he's going to pay the house off, right? The son, You talk about generational wealth. What are you passing down? Start hanging around people that talk like Di and John. Start hanging around that. Have you heard what came from this presentation before, right? Folks, there is another world, and we want you in it. A world in which your debts are no longer a problem because you know now how to pay them correctly. Allocate correctly. It'll tell you when and how much you are going to pay in order to pay off all your debts. Now, you know, we have a number, and I have bitten onto it, John, and I'm gonna just release it. I think this is the first time I've shared this, but we are on the road to 1 million people on their way out of debt through this system. Folks, I want you to listen really closely. Cardiovascular system, skeletal system, respiratory system, solar system. What operates well without a system? That's why you're still in debt. We want you out. Does that make sense? Click the link that we've pinned right there. Right after this, we will make sure that this will be the link that you see up at the top. Folks, there is no excuse. You know that I'm here for you. Please, man, give a round of applause for Di and John. Di, you did excellent. That was fantastic as usual. Thank you so much, John, for spending your time here. We thank you. It was an honor to have you here. We are not worthy. We really appreciate you, John, and we appreciate you so much. We definitely are welcome anytime. Anytime. You can just show up. Don't worry about it. All right? All right, Di,
Well, awesome,
John,
CJ.
again.
Thank you so much.
Hey,
It was a
no
pleasure. Was all
problem,
mine,
sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
Thank
God
you.
bless you and have a great night.
God bless.